All right. I think we stopped at this was exactly what we did in our last class, which was on Monday, which I also believe that I have also covered with Mr. Austin in our
Yeah.
class. Uh, Mommy Purity, hope you have also tried this. Remember I asked you to go through it again on your own. We're good to go from it.
Yes, I've done that.
Oh, okay. All right. So this morning we are still on HTML tags, and then along the line we will add some CSS in order for us to have a proper looking user interface with the elements we have discussed so far. Web developments. Okay, so like I said, we are still on HTML tags, and we are going to add some CSS in order for us to determine or to define the presentation of our contents. Now, in our last class, I established the concepts around HTML tags. I told us that HTML tags are actually the building blocks that we use in structuring our website. The HTML tags form the contents we publish in our website. So it means that without the HTML tag, you can never put a website together. And that is the reason why we are starting with the HTML. And then alongside, we are adding CSS just to define the presentation of those contents you will have created with the HTML. Now, I was illustrating it. I think I still have to. I told us that this is how tags look like. We have the opening section of it, and then we have the closing section. Where's my network? I'm hearing myself. Can you hear me better now? Hello.
Yeah, I'm with you, sir.
Let's see if I'm hearing myself. Know where that is coming from. Are we good now? Please let me to confirm.
Yeah, we are.
It's okay.
All right. All right. So I'm trying to explain the structure or the syntax of what we mean by HTML tag so that whenever we see it, we know what it is. So HTML tag will always come with this left opening bracket, which is called the angle bracket in coding. Now, what you have in the first part of your HTML tag is called the opening section or the stats. We refer to that as the start tag. and then you close the angle brackets with the left bracket. Now, between this and the closing section is where you are expected to impute what the users of your website will see. So whatever I type, for example, now, welcome before the closing tag, which looks like this. The closing tag, the difference between it and the opening tag is just this forward slash that you are seeing there. So that is the best way you can differentiate the opening section of your tag from the closing section of your tag. Now, we need to understand that these tags, which are the building blocks, has a structure, and that structure is what I am defining now. That it comes with the opening side, the opening section, then the content section, and the closing section. So like I've illustrated here, everything you have in between the opening section of your tag and the closing section of your tag is the content that will be visible to your website users or visitors. Now, we have 95% of this type of tags. So generally, the entire HTML tag can be grouped into two categories. We have tags which are called the complete tag, that is a tag with the opening section, the content section, and the closing section. We also have tags that does not have the closing section. As a result of that, they don't also have the content section. They are called the self-closing tag. For example, is one of the tag we are going to look at this morning. Now, if I have something like this, IMG, which is a tag for publishing or adding or embedding images in your web page, which comes with an attribute. All of this will sort them out once I get to my development environment. So I just want us to understand the difference between the complete tag and the empty tag or self-closing tag. So you can have a tag like this. This is an example of image tag. This is a tag we use in adding images to our web pages. So all the images you have ever seen across website, they were created with this tag. Now, what we are saying is that if you look at this tag, and even I have not cleaned the other one, we can easily compare them. If you look at this tag only have the opening section. It does not have the closing section. So this type of tag is referred to as an empty tag. All the empty tag does not have content. So another best way we can describe this type of tag, they are tag without contents. And that is the reason why this SRC means what? Source. And what it represents is where you define the parts of where the content is, since there is no content section. We have a lot of them like that. So I just want us to understand that as we work with these tags, we should bear in mind that we have some that will come with the opening section and the closing section, and we have some that will come with just the opening section without the closing section. So that will now take me back to my editor to continue from where we stopped. So what we did last time practically was general introduction to HTML. Not only that, I give us an introduction to what website design or building is all about. I started by defining websites. I also mentioned the various languages that are out there you need to learn for you to be a front-end developer, and their various functions, where I started mentioning HTML. And I said HTML is a markup language which is used to define the website structure. And the way it's going to define the website structure is with the use of the content which we are now publishing with the HTML building block called tags. Now, I told us that this is an example of an HTML tag. A tag is a keyword that is surrounded by angle bracket. So any word you have in the angle bracket is a tag. And if it is a tag, it means that it is used to render contents on the browser to the users. It means it's the vehicle that is taking your content from this back-end development and displaying it through the browser to the users. So that is the primary assignment of the HTML tags. And then we'll also look at the syntax. I told us that the word syntax needs to be understood by every programmer so that you know what you are doing. So the word syntax in programming generally means a set of rules that governs the way the code is written. So in a layman term, we can simply say syntax are the format of writing code for every language you are speaking, just like the way we are speaking HTML at the moment, being it JavaScript, being it C++, being it any programming language, there are syntax if it is Python. So the difference between a Python programmer and probably a JavaScript programmer is the syntax of these languages. It's just like the Yoruba and the Igbo. They all have a word that means come. Igbo will say bia, Hausa will say zo, Yoruba will say wa. So the difference is the sound, but in coding, what we are saying is that every language has its own syntax. Now, the syntax of the building blocks of the HTML, which are the tag, is that you declare the opening section if you are working with the complete tag. After that, you supply the content. So everything within the closing tag and the opening tag and the closing tag is the content that will be visible to the users. Now, I'll also explain that you can actually create a new HTML file and activate the inbuilt HTML simple file, which has already been embedded in your IDE, Integrated Development Environment. An example of that is this. Let's assume that I'm creating another page called About Us. Now, I'll click here like I show us, then you enter the name of the file, and then you introduce the dots. So that dot is called period in programming, which means to define the language extension, the language you are working with. You need to define the file part, the file type. So once I say about dots and I say HTML, that HTML means that you are currently writing HTML documents. By the time I am going to introduce the CSS, you will then notice that instead of me saving my file with .html, it will now be with .css, because at that point, I am stating that I'm creating CSS file. Now, once you have typed the name and you have added the period in order to introduce the extension, then you click outside. Once you click outside, I told us that it will generate an empty file. It will generate an empty file. Then you are expected to activate HTML default file, because there is a simple HTML file that has already been created in this Visual Studio Code. So if you are coding with any of the advanced IDE, you should know that they already come with this simple HTML file. So how do you bring that file and continue to expand it depending on the volume of the content or the type of content you want to actually publish in that your website? So you can just type HT, and then once you type HT, it automatically prompts up this. So from here, I told us that you are to select HTML5. HTML5 is the latest HTML for building content. Now, I said the next thing, I took my time to explain the meaning of this code. This line only defines that you are writing HTML file. That is why you can say doc type HTML. Then this line is where you now open up the HTML as a container that is holding all this. And that is why if you look carefully, you will see that this is the opening of the HTML tag, and then this is the closing of the HTML tag. Then this is another sub-container nested inside this main container, and it closes here. And inside it, you are wrapping this word 3 tag. And then if you also check, you will notice that you have another sub-container, which is a direct sibling to this head. Both of them, they are siblings, they are children. They are child elements to this HTML. And then if you look at this, is pure empty tag. There is no place you can see the closing part of it, which means that it was declared here and it ends here. But this one was declared here and end here. So what we are having now, if I have to model it, are you with me?
Even from here. Guys, I'm going on go. Yeah, brother.
Are you with me? Please always mute when you are not communicating. Now, for example, if I click here now, I'm trying to model it. What we are saying is that I am modeling the file that we are seeing. So this box that we are seeing is this HTML. Inside this box, you have another sub-container like this. So this box that you are seeing is this head, of which inside the head, you now have 3 elements. Now, still inside the main container, you now have this body that is open here and that is closed here. And then if you check now, let's say this is the body. So what I've done now is HTML DOM. That is what I have modeled the HTML. I have defined the conceptual layout, how it represents the whole of this file. So you can see the reason why I said both the head and the body, they are both connecting from the root, which is the main container. Please, I need a response. Is that clear to us? Hello? Can someone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, all right. So that is just to give us an overview of what the HTML structure, the HTML5 structure is. Now that we understand it, like I said, today we are looking at different tag. We are done with paragraph tag. We are also done with, we stop at H1 tag, where I said we have heading tags, which are primarily used for creating headings in our web pages. Let's go to the front end. I said, while you are developing locally, if you want to check how your content will be displayed to the users, you don't wait until you are through with the entire design before you know how it is going to be presented to the users. Knowing fully well that you are actually developing this website, not for yourself, for users. So you need to be checking subsequently as you are designing to know how it's going to look like. And to do that, I said you install a server, which I call the live server. So it is the live server that each time I right click on my HTML file, that brings out what? This. So I can just click on it and that will automatically render my document on the browser and show me how it's going to look like to the user. So you can see that, this is how it's going to look like to the user about Digitech Zeal. Now, this is just a heading. Now, it means that you are about to say something about this particular words, company. You want to describe them. Now, it means you have to create paragraph. That is where another tag comes in. And let me establish this very well. These building blocks, they are not to be used anyhow. They have their primary purpose. So though some are multi-purpose in nature, you can convert one to do the work of other. But irrespective of that, or despite that you can actually make some multi-purpose, you still have to understand their basic usage. For example, in a company, you can have several employees. One could be sales rep, whose primary job is to represent the sales unit. Another one could be an admin, whose primary job is to work in the department where policies are made. Now, if the sales rep is not on seat, are you saying that if customer comes in, nobody will attend to that customer? I want somebody to respond. Are you with me?
Yes, sir. No, somebody will attend to the customer.
In other words, automatically you convert the what? The admin member to who? To the sales rep, right?
Yes.
Good. That is exactly what I am saying. All these tags which are used for defining your website structure, they have their primary functions. But if you feel as an expert that I want to use the function A, tag A, to do the work of tag B, is allowed. After all, the users are not going to be seeing them. You see the logic now? It is only a fellow professional that we know that you actually use a wrong tag, because your concern is the content, because that is what they are expected to see. So that is why I told us that for headings, we have H1 to what? H6. So which means that I can choose to use H2 to create my heading. I can choose to use H3. Now, if I want to create content for this, I have to bring in another tag. Sorry. I have to step out from that initial comment. So we refer to it as paragraph tag. Paragraph tag. Paragraph tag. And it is denoted with this, just P. Is denoted with just P. So whenever you see this tag, it is called paragraph. Now, what is it used for? Is for creating articles. Is for explaining your heading. So I need a paragraph tag here so that I can say something about this particular organization. So I will just type P. And once I type P and press enter, it will create both the opening section and the closing section. So if I open it on the browser, it's not going to display anything because you have not added the contents, but the tag is active. So now for me to say something about this, what I will simply do, since I have access to their website, I can just open the browser and search. But where you don't have access to their content, then you are expected to consult whoever is giving you the website project to give you their profile. So from their profile, you should be able to summarize their about, if they are able to summarize information about them. So I just want us to understand that if you are building, or maybe you are recreating, or probably you can actually get the about us information from the internet. So you can go to their page. So I'm going to the about us page and get some information about them. So what I want to quickly do here is to take the whole of this. So in case you search on Google and you want to lift it and add it to your tag section, that is the reason why I am doing this. Now, you go back to your development environment. This is the tag. Just make sure that your cursor is blinking in the content section of the P tag you activated, and Control V to paste the whole of that information. So if I go to the front end again, the user end, you will notice that what I have been able to publish their information under the heading. Is that clear? Please, I need a response. Just one person respond. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mami Purity, hope you are following.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what we have just learned now is another HTML tag which is used for creating paragraph. It's used for creating paragraph. So far so good. We have learned two tags now. The heading tag, which is H1 or H2 down to HC for creating heading, and P tag for creating content or articles. Now, we want to look at another tag before we move to the CSS aspect. Like I said, my assignment this morning is very simple. What I want to cover is 3 HTML tags. We end up knowing them very well, which are heading tag and the P tag and the image tag. The ones I have showed us how to use these 3 tags, we will now have introduction to CSS and see how we can start styling all these content we have created with these 3 sets of tags. So let's quickly look at the next tag, which is called the image tag. So I'm using comment. I said for you to activate comment line, just simply press the control button and this /. That is how you declare the comment line in HTML and even in CSS. So we are looking at image tag, HTML, image tag, which is denoted with this. You must always know the syntax of this tag, which is denoted with this. And I'm going to explain what that means. So like I said, it is an empty tag because it does not have the content side or section, and it does not also have the closing section. Now, what is an image tag? An image tag is used to embed images in your website. So for example, if I should go back to that website we visited now, all the images you can see, all the pictures you are seeing here, they were created with what? This tag. Then I want somebody to, okay, let me be specific. Mama Purity, which tag was used to create this data analysis? Mama Purity, are you with us?
Yes, it's P. It's P paragraph.
I disagree. Which tag was used to create data analysis? And which one? Look at this content now. Which tag was used to create this? If you are saying P was used to create this, which one was used to create this?
I think data analysis was created with either H1, H2, or H3.
So you can see this is a particular situation or scenario where heading tag was used. This is heading tag, this is paragraph tag. This is what? Anchor tag. We are going to get that probably in our next class. This one is a link. When the user clicked on it, it takes them from here to another environment either within the website or outside the website. I mean, Purity, is it clear now? Please, let's always respond on time. This is how I know if you are following. If you are not responding on time, I mean, Purity, is it clear to you now?
I didn't get this part, please.
What I have said, please pay attention, avoid distraction over there. What I'm saying is that Mr. Austin said that this tag was either created with H1 or H2 or H3 or any of the heading tag. Why this was created with P tag. And I'm asking, is it seconded? Is it okay now? Do you understand it?
Yes, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Good. Now let's go back. Now, so we are about implementing the image tag. Now you have said something. Sometime when you are developing website, please always avoid your web pages having only text. It is not a good practice. It is not a professional practice. Images have a way of spicing up your user interface design. In fact, if you visit any website without good looking images, it shows that your website will not be able to drive traffic. Hope you know that the website you are developing is one of the main digital marketing tool. The client you are building this website for, their intention is to use the website to draw leads, is to get people attention to buy their products. So that is why when you are designing as a developer, you need to make sure that you have a very good looking interface, very user-friendly interface. The website should be simple. It should not be complicated. The structure should not be in a form that somebody will have to take hours to look for where a particular button that is expected to take them to where you have the product you are selling is. So what we are saying is that for us to have a better looking user interface, let's add an actionable image, an image that will be speaking their service. These people, they are into training people on IT skills. So if I am going to bring any picture, it should be a picture of either somebody learning sitting in front of computer. It has to do with computer related image that somebody will look like if you check this picture now, you can see this particular image. This person is learning something on the system. So you have to be creative when you are using images. Now, I want to download, let's say I want download an image. Let me check if we have an image already downloaded in our image folder. Let's check if we have. Good. We have some images here. But maybe you don't have any image that describe what you want to do or that describe the service. You can easily go to Google. It's part of it. I said it. You must know how to be consulting Google for several things when you are developing website. So let's say I want Google to give me an image that represents learning IT skill or learning any program, maybe web development or data analysis. So I can just say web site, or let me say data, since we are website development. So once I click here, Google will display this. Then I will now go to images to see some picture that represent the search heading. Now you can see some fine picture. Just imagine you cannot compare the strength of this picture to this. This is actually what visualizing what you are doing. So I will right click on this and select save image as. And then I will direct the picture to my website root folder, image folder. We are already in there. Supposing it does not pop up, you are expected to what? To search for it. You go to desktop where you created it, and then you look for that folder, that project folder that you called in your editor. You open it up, you open the image up, and then you give it a name. Let's say what? Web piece. And then you click on what? Save. Now, it means that the image has automatically been sent to your image folder. Now, from your development environment, all you need to do is to activate it. To activate the what? To activate the image tag. So just come here and say img. Once you type img, it brings it out and press enter. Now, as soon as you press enter, so it's brought out the complete tag. So there is something I need to explain here. There are some things that came with this tag, like this SR and what? SROC and OTS. When we activated the H1 and the peak tag, those ones didn't provide any other attribute. They are called attributes. What do we mean by attributes? Attributes provide additional information about your HTML elements. For example, this SROC is giving us additional information about the IMG tag. This OTS is giving us additional information about the IMG tag. So it is now left for you as a programmer, as a developer, to know what additional information you can actually attach to this tag with the auth and what with the source. So let me start with the source. Now, for the source, as the name implies, it is for referencing the location where the pictures will be called from each time the user opens the page where you are publishing this image within your website. So there must be a location referencing. That location can be within your website or can be outside your website. So, but now we are working within our website. We all know that we have already created, we have stored our images inside our image folder. So what we are going to do right now is to connect this image tag to this folder to be collecting the picture from. So each time the user logs into this page, it should call an image from here based on which of them we specify. Now, there are two ways you can actually reference your image location. Is either you reference it absolutely or relatively. When you say absolutely, it means that you want to define all the directories that are involved before you get to where the image is. A practical example, if I want to, from my desktop, know where the image is, I will have to first of all know where the root folder web dev class is. Knowing that the web dev class is in desktop and the desktop itself is in drive C, local disk. So let's look at the number of directory that are involved before you can actually get to this image that we want to pick, this very one. Now, the number of directory that are involved, once I click on that picture like this and I touch this place, it will give me the directory that are involved. You can see, let's look at it, drive C. Drive C is the local drive where you store your operating system. Then the name of the computer, the name of the folder is called user. The name of the person the computer is registered for is Egwero. Now, inside that Egwero, there is a desktop storage. Inside the desktop, there is a folder called webdev underscore class. Inside that webdev, there is a folder called img. Inside the img, that is where you can access what? Webpiece.jpg. So you can see if I have to copy the whole of this and go to my editor and paste it here, this is absolute image referencing. You can see the code, how long it is. Most time this one fails. So if I go to the front end now, I want to check if we are going to see the image. So you can see that with this method, I could not read the image. So that is because your URL is too long. So the application is finding difficult to locate all this directory. So that's why we say that in web development, use the relative method of referencing the image location. Now, what is a relative method? A practical example is your family tree, sir. If, for example, you go to Igwide now, where I am from, and you start shouting, prosper, prosper. I wasn't brought up there. I don't think I stayed that place up to 3 months at a stretch. So if you go there and start shouting prosper now, I am very sure nobody will know which prosper you are calling. But once you say Egwero, once you call my grandpa name, that means you now want to assess me based on who I am related to. So when we say the relative method, that's what we are saying. In other words, we will just use a comment here inside that quotation. Now let me explain it. Every HTML attribute comes with two parts. The first part is the part before the equals to sign, which is called the attribute name, while the second part is the part after the equals to sign, which is the what? The quotation. In programming, that quotation is called string. String means what? The type of data you are working with is a text. But in this case, inside that quotation, you are storing the value. So in programming, this equals to does not mean equality. It means assignment. That is what? A pipe that is taking the value that you are bringing here inside what? This. So in programming, this becomes a variable. But we are calling it attribute here because in programming, variable stores value within the program memory. Now, what we are about to do now, we are storing the image link inside the sroc. Now, using the relative method, just slash inside it. The moment you type the / inside that quotation, what you have said in programming is that output all the item inside the main folder. All the items inside the main folder, I want to see them. That is the simple communication you just established now. Now, the reason why you did that is that because that slash means what? Comment. So you said something that show me everything inside the what? The root folder. So that from there, I will be able to navigate to where I am going. You can see now that we can see everything. This is where we are going. So I will just click here and then I am inside the folder. You can see that it has cut off drive C, desktop, and the rest of them. Now I can quickly select what, or easily select the one I want. So automatically you can see that I have been able to what, to reference the image relatively using the parent element, to access it. So if I go to my front end now, if I right click and I select open with live server, you will see the image published automatically. So this is the best practice instead of you using the absolute method. Now, if I want to add another image, what will I do? It means that I need to call another image tag. But before that, let's look at the role of this, the role of the alternative text. Now, there's a reason why HTML provided this backup. The reason is that, as the name implies, alternative, it means that if the primary data fail to display or respond, fall back to this. That's what we are saying. Now, what we are saying in essence is that if the user visits this website, for one reason or the other, which could be the absence of the plugin for reading JPEG image, it's just like your phone. There are some websites you open with your phone, the image will not be displaying. And when you open that website with another device, the image will display. So what is happening to the first device? What is happening to the first device could be that that device, the browser you are using, is outdated. So there are some plugins that need to be updated before you can have that image extension. Now, we have different formats for reading images. We have GIF, we have JPEG, we have PNG. So if the device you are using, for example, this image is JPEG, and this browser JPEG extension is not probably visible. So what the user will see is nothing. A practical example is this. Let me deliberately remove this G and run the script again. You will see that the image is no longer there, but there is nothing showing the user that an image ought to have displayed there. So you just left them without any form of communication for them to know, okay, they will have seen an image, probably because of one issue or the other. The image could not be displayed. So what you are going to do now is to make sure that you program your alternative text. So my alternative text will now be inside here if in any circumstances or any situation where they fail to see this image, they should be seeing a web dev picture. This is what I want them to be seeing, web dev picture. That is what I wanted to be seeing. So let me do that same thing I did. Let me deliberately remove this and see if it's going to display the alternative text. So you can see it. So now, instead of leaving it blank, it's showing them web dev web picture. So that is the essence of the alternative tests which you must supply. Because another reason why you must always add this is because of Google SEO. At the end of the day, we are going to learn Google SEO. What is Google SEO? Google SEO means Google search engine optimization, for you to draw traffic to make your website to be visible to people that are searching for one thing or the other on the internet. So anytime they are searching for any word that carry web, because you only publish an image here, but in your alternative text, you use the word web, Google will go to your website and display your website page, that particular page or the URL where that word was mentioned. So that is another reason why for every image tag you create, please always add alternative text and let it be descriptive, because you are targeting to optimize your website with these keywords. Are we communicating? Please, can somebody respond to me, please, quickly, if we are following?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So now, let's go back
Yes,
to...
sir.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So now, like I said, I want to add another image. so that you know how to. So let me return that error. Let me put back the G so that I can have the image displayed. Okay, so we are back. Now, my intention is to have another image here. So how do I publish another image? You simply call the img again, and then you press what? Enter. Then you define the source of that image by commenting inside the source attribute with your /, and then you navigate to your image, then choose another one. So let's go to the front end, and then you see the two images, only that this one is tempting somebody. I know Mr. Austin. Anyway, I know him. I don't think he will even think of eating this morning. So, Mommy Purity, you can see this picture. This picture is tempting somebody. Eh? Okay. Now, it means that you have, if you have an intention, the intention is that you know that somebody can just get to this website now and see this kind of picture. Wow. Okay. It's like they are into restaurants and all of that. Okay, let me check all that. So you must always, everything you are using in your website, being it an image, being it color, there should be target. The target is how they can give the user good experience. That is where we derive the word UI, US. UI means what? User interface. YUS means what? User experience. So as a developer who is developing user application, I want us to know that we are developing web-based application. Each page in your website is an application, like your OP. But just that your own application is an application that must be hosted on a remote server before everybody can access it. But those ones, they don't need to be hosted. Once they are done, they are called standalone applications. So now we have added this content. So far, so good. We have been able to create 3 different contents. The first one is the heading with the heading tag. The second part is the content with the paragraph tag. And the third part is the image tag. So like I said, my focus this morning is to teach us how to work with 3 tags, which how to use them to publish content across your web pages. Now, we will now move to the second part, which is where I will now be introducing us to CSS as a subordinative language for decorating or determining the presentation of this content. Now, I want to ask us a simple question. If you pay somebody, let's say 600,000 to build a website for you, and you log into that website page and you see it like this, please just be sincere. Will you pay the person? One of you should respond.
No,
Good, because this is not a
no.
user interface. Look at it. This image, they are not even equal. Look at this one. Look at the height here. Look at spaces everywhere. Even this, they are not colorful. Everything is not well arranged. That is why you need CSS. So why are we involving CSS? We are involving CSS just to determine the presentation of this content to the users. So what is CSS? What is CSS to us as developer? So introduction to CSS. So let me start by giving us the full meaning of CSS. The C stands for cascade, while the S stands for style, and the second S stands for what? Sheet. So if we combine it, it becomes what? Cascade, style, sheet. Cascade, style, sheet. Is a CSS a programming language? The answer is no. Is HTML a core programming language? The answer is no. In fact, let me rephrase my statement. Is CSS a core programming language? The answer is no. Is HTML a core programming language? The answer is also no. But sir, are they programming languages? The answer is yes. but they are not core programming languages. That is why you see that we are finding them easily to learn. By the time we get to JavaScript now, you will not see the main language. And before you can go to JavaScript, it is expected that you are grounded on HTML and CSS, because all of them, JavaScript is going to build or add interactivity to what you have already created with the HTML, and also have already styled with the CSS. That is already looking nice. You are only bringing JavaScript to add some action to it. So CSS is your makeup artist. Let me use that scenario. The ladies, thank God that we have one of you here. You know, when you see that maybe you are not fine enough, or you are not handsome enough, you are not beautiful, you go and buy all those Mary Kay and the rest of them and start what? You know, painting your face. So that is how CSS function here. So we are considering that these things are not well arranged. This content that we have developed, they are not well structured. They are not well arranged. And we are considering that somebody can visit this website and decide and are not being encouraged to stay true. Because if the person cannot be pinned to that website, it means that the person cannot browse across all the content. That we end up motivating him or her to hit the purchase button. At the end of the day, the person will not purchase the product. So that's why we are bringing CSS here. So don't forget I said it's a styling language. Now, let's quickly talk about the method of applying the CSS on the HTML elements. So when I say HTML elements, that includes the tag and the content they are creating. We need to get that right, because these are some terms I'll be using. Sometimes I will say HTML tag. Sometimes I will say HTML document. Sometimes I will say HTML element. So when I say HTML tag, they are the keyword surrounded in the angle bracket. Then when I say HTML element, I am talking about what? The tag itself and the content. Then when I say HTML document, I am describing the collection of all the tags and their content. For example, now the whole of this is HTML document. How did I know? You can see that this is one tag plus another tag plus another tag. Good. Now, how do you communicate the CSS? For example, I want to increase the size. Let me start with the heading tag, the H1 that generated about Digitech Zeal Hub. I want to change the color to our color. I want to make it capital letter or true. And I want to put it at the center of this page. And then probably I want to increase the size, or I want to change the handwriting. All these that I've mentioned, for them to be possible on that text, you need to attach CSS to it. And that is why I said there are 3 ways you can actually attach CSS to your HTML elements. And what are the topic is CSS. Let me leave this. The topic is CSS addition, or method of, let's just say, CSS addition. So like I said, there are 3 ways you can actually communicate CSS on that content that you want to transform, that you want to change its appearance. The first method is what we call the inline method. Inline method. Then the second method, I will not use all the method today. I will use one. In the next class, I'll use another one so that you can get used to them gradually. The second one is called internal method. And then, of course, the last one is called the external method. So we have internal, and then we have inline, we have internal, we have external. Now, let me go back to my coding page. The word internal means, inline. That is what you are writing your CSS on the same line with the HTML code. That is the meaning of what? Inline. So if I want to change this now, this about digital C to, let's say, red color, I will come inside the opening tag, you space, and then you type style. This is how you apply inline. Anytime you want to write both your CSS code and your HTML code inside the same line of code, or anytime you are writing CSS in the HTML code, that is a simple way of describing the inline. Writing the CSS code inside the HTML element, simple as that. And you are to do that in the opening section of that tag. And you once you enter the opening section, you must space. If you don't type space now, if you don't create space, you type this style to not come out. You can see it until you space. Then you type what? The style. So that style, you have automatically registered, initiated CSS. CSS is now automatically what? Accommodated in that particular tag. So right now, two languages are active there. HTML is active and CSS is active. Now, inside that attribute, so now that style is an attribute now, providing CSS information about what? The HTML element. So inside that quotation, I will now start declaring my CSS code or property and value. Now, the term have started changing. When you are working in HTML, the common terms you use are tags, attributes, tags, attributes. Now, when you are in CSS, the common terms you use are properties, value, property, value. So let's get that right. Now, inside that quotation, I will now declare my CSS property. What is CSS property? CSS property these are functions built in CSS for transforming the HTML element. For example, what do I want to do? I told us that I want to change this about digital Z hub color to red. So the moment you understand what you want to do, then you need to align that task to which of the CSS property can do it. So if you are calling yourself a programmer or a web developer that understands CSS, you are telling me that you know a lot of what properties for transforming your content. If you are telling me that you know HTML, you are also telling me that you have an idea of multiple or many building blocks like the tags that can be used to create content. Simple as that. So you cannot claim that you know CSS and you don't even know one CSS property. So now, for me to change the color, I am going to type what? Color. The moment I type color, you can see that CSS is already what? Prompting me the keywords that are in its library. Because I type CO, then it brings out what? All the CSS names that have what? Color. So I will just click on this. That is what I want. Now, let's quickly take some time to understand the CSS structure. The CSS structure is that the property name comes first, and then that column is just like that column is what separates the properties from the value. And then the semicolon is what ends one property or what demarcates one property from the other. So if I come inside here now and type red, and then let's go back to the front end, you see that what we have changed the text to what? Red. Because I call red and then I supply what? I call color property and then I supply what? Red. If I want it to be blue, I will change it. I will just click on that color bar. Once we have added one color and you want to switch, it's very easy. It will bring out your color bucket. So what happened here is that as soon as I touch on the previous color, it will bring out this bucket. Then from this bucket, I can select any aspect of this bucket I want, and then it will display the color. But if I don't want to do that, I can simply delete it and type what? Let's say what? Blue. So once you type it, then it brings it out. Then if I go to the front end now, you see I have what? My blue. So now if I go back to that, our website now, you now know how I color all this. You now know how I gave this color. Okay? Are we together? Let me get a response, please. Are we together? Response.
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Okay, your question, sir. Go ahead, sir.
In that color bucket, I just noticed when you do it, in that color bucket, I just noticed when you do it, there was a code, a number on that code.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Can one also use that to?
Yes, I'm coming to that. That
Okay, all right.
ROGB, I don't want to, I'm careful with what I'm doing. I'm coming to color. We're going to get to that.
Okay,
Understand all the
all right.
different ways you can call color. Now, I just want us to learn how to call color by names. I don't want us to start calling color by ROGBA or using hexadecimal. There are different ways of calling color. But when you are in like this, you learn from calling
right.
by names. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing I want to do, because you have to be checking your front end, because it is the front end appearance that will tell you whether there is need for you to continue styling. You stop styling that element once you have gotten what you are looking for. Now, the next thing I want to do, I want to move it from the left-hand side to the middle. So that means that I need to look for another CSS property for alignments. Once you identify a challenge, then look for the corresponding word CSS property to solve it. Now, because I have identified that I want to move this right off to the center, that was what prompted me thinking of what? Alignment. So I'll go back to my coding page, and then, like I told you, this semicolon define where one properties end. So you declare color property here, you supply this value, it ended. You don't write another one inside, you step outside, and then you call another one, which is called what? Test align. So test align, I will choose what? Center. Now, if I go back to the front end now and check, you can see that what? I have been able to move the text to the center of the page. Now, there is another challenge. Another challenge is that A should be in capital letter, while other text should be a small letter. That is sentence case. So how do I do that? That automatically inform me that I need another CSS property, which is called the text transform. Then I will choose either lowercase or title case. So I'll go back to my coding page. I'll go back to my coding page. Step outside. Remember that this is where the second CSS starts. This is where it ends. So I'll make sure that I come after the semicolon and call the next one, which is text transform. Text transform, I will use capitalize because I want only the A to be in capital letter. Other letters should be small letter. So if I click here now and I also check my front end, you can see that what capitalize has given me what each of the letter, each of the word now carries what capital letter, while the rest is a good presentation. Now I need to also consider the size. Is this too big or is too small? Let me check my window view because I was the one that reduced it. Put it at 100%. Because if you are looking at it with this 200%, you might be thinking that the size is okay. Meanwhile, this is not how it's going to be viewed by the viewers or the user. So what you are going to do is to make sure that you return the viewing size to 100 and see whether the size is moderate. Now, but the average size for displaying headings should be 16, 14, 18, 20. Once the headings are too big, then it makes no sense at times to so many people. So let's say I want to also add the font size so that we'll know how to increase the size or to reduce. So that one will now take me to another property, which is called font size. So from font size, these are some presets. But because we don't know the size they will produce, I can go ahead and type my own as 18 what? PS. So if I go back to the front end and check, it's a bit smaller now compared to what we were having there. So I can bring it up a little, 110. Okay. Or let me make it 20. Let me make it 22. So that is how to size. Now, we are still on this. Once I'm done with this, I will allow us to perform this. You will share your screen. And then for those of us that are joining with laptop, you create a heading tag. You will style it with this color. And then every other thing I will have done also. So make sure as you are watching, you are also taking note of what I'm doing. Now, the next thing I want to do, I discovered that I'm still having some space here. Why compressing this? Why can't we just create some space between the A and B, B and O, O and U? You can stretch the character spacing. There is a CSS property for doing that. So just come back here and write character, letter spacing. Letter spacing. So let's say I want a space of 10 PS in between the words. So I go back there. You can see I have stretched them a little and it look better now. Since I have enough space, there's no need. So I have to stretch it, in other words, to... You can also determine the line height. You can come here and say, okay, the line height, you want something like, let's say 20 PS. So let's check if that will make any impact. Okay, so it does not make any impact, so let's just leave it. Okay, so I am going to pause here and allow us to get to where I am. So the faster you do it, that will determine whether we will continue. So I will unshare my screen, you will share your screen, and then what you are going to do for me, the heading tag that you have created, you are going to style it with this CSS. So let me prompt the page again so that you can take note of those properties. So you can write them down. The first one is color. You can choose your, okay, let's say we are doing the same thing since we are practicing. Color, blue.
Move it to the end.
Okay, so let's write down that line quickly.
And the Lord began to help us to talk about the exceeding great grace. Exceeding great grace. I told